It's been a couple months since I last touched my Himi Miya gouache, and I've been really wanting to work with it again, so I finally got an excuse. I finally got a drawing I wanted to use this gouache with, and I also haven't actually opened the palette that it came in quite some time. It's probably been about a month and a half, maybe, since I actually opened this palette last, so I was very curious to see how these colors did over time, how they dried out, if they dried out at all. So I wanted to definitely show you guys kind of how this palette has been doing for me over time. Like I said, I haven't even had it for that long. I got this in December / late November / mid-November. It was November or December is when I picked this up, but as you can see, it's cracked a little bit in some places, and the top layer of some of the paints has started to harden, but by no means is this dried out at all. Most of the paints are still very wet to the touch, and that's really good. In my very, very small experience of working with gouache, I definitely prefer working with it wet. I know it really just depends on personal preference, and a lot of people say that working with gouache once it's already dried is better, you'll get better color payoff, etc. It's just personal preference. It's a lot less work for me to work with gouache that's not needing to be reactivated, that's already wet, so I think that's really what it boils down to for me in my head. But as a whole, like, gouache is kind of a weird medium for me because it's so time consuming compared to my normal other artwork to work with gouache, and especially considering, like, I feel like I go through so many ugly phases when working with gouache before I actually get to a final product that I'm happy with, and I'm fully aware of that, so it's not like I give up on drawings when I'm working with gouache or anything like that. It just takes so long for it to look nice, and I know it's gonna look nice eventually, but it's just so much layering and so much rendering, and just, it's very time consuming when I work with gouache. And while this is a very, very simple illustration, it still took me a really long time to do it. I think this probably took me like 3 or 4 hours from start to finish, honestly. And if I was gonna do this in watercolor or Copic markers, I probably would have been done in like 1-2 tops, because I feel like I'm a very quick artist, which is not a necessarily good thing. I know that might sound like it's a good thing, but inherently it's not really a good thing. There's pros and cons to it, but I feel like I personally like to work fast. I like to get things done quickly, so working with gouache can be overwhelming in theory at times, especially if I'm considering working with gouache on a complicated piece, because I know I'm going to be sitting there and working on it for hours and hours. Even if it's something like, I know gouache is very pretty. I really like gouache because it's such a pretty, gorgeous, finished appearance to it. It just, the color blocking of it, and just gouache is just very pretty. I love the look of finished pieces in gouache, but it's just very time consuming, so I think I talk myself out of using gouache on a lot of occasions because I don't want to be sitting there for a very long time. That being said, I really do like working with gouache. I find it very nice to lay down such opaque colors, especially coming from my perspective, where my most comfortable mediums are definitely watercolors and alcohol markers. So it's really cool working with a solid opaque medium that I can reactivate and layer if I need to. That's something that I really appreciate about gouache, especially since its drying variations are so weird, because darker gouache tends to dry lighter and lighter gouache tends to dry darker. And that in of itself is a very scary quality of gouache, because if you need to layer something or if you need to color match something and you don't have that color on your palette already, that can be very scary. But as a whole, I really do like working with gouache. It's something I don't do often enough. And as far as this illustration goes, I recently finished playing the new Pokemon Mystery Dungeon DX game, which is a remake of Blue and Red. And Blue Rescue Team was actually my second DS game that I ever played, so as soon as I heard, first and foremost, that they were making another Mystery Dungeon game, I was so excited, because this was definitely my favorite series of all the Pokemon games that I played, out of like the main story ones, the Raider games, the Rescue Team games, and like all the little ones here and there. The Rescue Team ones, the Mystery Dungeon ones, those ones were like my absolute favorite. They had such a good story and they were so fun. It was such a cool concept. So like, when they stopped making them for a good amount of time, I don't think I played, mind you, I don't think I played the last 2 that came out, the 3DS ones. I just didn't like the way they looked, so I didn't bother buying them. But like, the Mystery Dungeon games were by far, in my opinion at least, the best Pokemon games. So as soon as I heard they were making another one, I was so excited, because I didn't know if they were going to. I was really hoping they would for the Switch, but I was so excited when they announced it. And when I found out it was a remake of Blue and Red Rescue Team, that was like so much more exciting for me, because I'd much rather play a game I've already played before than play a new one. I know a lot of people feel otherwise, but I feel that way about like TV shows. I'd rather watch something I know is good and I've already seen it than watch something new in a lot of occasions. So I think that's how I feel about any kind of media, whether it's a book or it's a movie or it's a game. I'd rather play something I've already played that I know I like than start something new, just because I know I'm gonna enjoy it. So I was so excited about that, and I played it, it's done. I've moved on to Animal Crossing because Animal Crossing has absolutely taken over my life. I've played so much Animal Crossing in the past couple weeks, but Mystery Dungeon was very fun, and I'm excited for when I am done with my main Animal Crossing phase, which could take up to like a year probably. But I'm very excited to revisit this game when I'm done doing lots of things in Animal Crossing, because I'm really excited to play like the post-game stuff, because there is a lot in the Mystery Dungeon series. So this is a Pokemon Mystery Dungeon illustration. In the game, if you don't know, you wake up as a Pokemon and you have a partner Pokemon and you guys have like a rescue team that you form together. It's just a really cute concept. So in the game, I was a Mudkip and my partner was a Cyndaquil, and that's what I'm painting. As soon as like the game got released, I knew I wanted to do a Mystery Dungeon illustration, and I finally got around to it after beating the game. But I was really excited about doing this, especially in Gouache, because the final look is just very, very nice, and I just wanted to do kind of like a simple, light-colored, fun little drawing in a field, and it was very, very fun to do. I also tried to show off a lot of the supplies I'm working with in this video. So at the very beginning, I showed you guys the paper I was working on. This is a Gouache watercolor pad that I've had lying around for a very, very long time. I'm pretty sure I got this watercolor pad at Hobby Lobby. I think I got it on clearance at one point in time, and I really haven't touched it that many times since I got it, which was well over a year ago, honestly. But I picked it up and I saw how textured it was, and I knew I wanted to work with it because the past couple sketchbooks I've been working in haven't been super textured, so I've been using a lot of smooth paper recently. So as soon as I saw the super textured surface, I knew I really wanted to work with this paper. I don't really remember if this paper is any good with watercolors at all or inks. I think I've used it with watercolors and inks on like 2 occasions maybe, but it's 140-pound paper, so it holds the gouache really well. It looked very nice, especially since it was so textured paper. I really liked working with it. I also showed some of the brushes I was working with in this video. I mainly use Princeton Velvet Touch brushes. I get that question a lot, and eventually I'll do like an art supplies video where I go over my favorite art supplies as far as like brushes and paper, stuff like that goes. But I primarily use Princeton Velvet Touch brushes. However, the only exception to that is my Arteza detail brushes. I use those all the time when I'm doing any kind of line work that needs to be a wet medium, so gouache or watercolor. They're just really, really nice brushes. As far as brushes go, I'm not like super picky in terms of quality. Like honestly, if I had to switch over to cheaper brushes, I'm sure I would notice a difference, but like I'd get by with it. Because the Arteza brushes are very price-wise cheap, I'm not super sure about quality. I think I kind of have an idea as far as quality goes for like obviously watercolor paints and obviously paper, but brushes to me is something that I haven't tried a whole lot of brands of. I know the Princeton ones that I have right now are definitely like more higher end brushes. I just ended up buying a set for myself because I got them in an Art Snacks box. I liked them and I wanted more because I wanted a brush set that matched. So that's kind of how I ended up working with those ones, but I really do like them. They're very visually pretty and they work very well. So I think that pretty much covers the supplies I used in this video, and then at the very end I decided to do some accents with Posca pens. This piece just wasn't very colorful and I wasn't super happy with it towards the end, so I decided to pick up a couple of colors of Posca pens that I thought would look nice and just kind of do like little dots everywhere and kind of make it look like confetti in the background, because that's something I used to do a lot and I really like the look of it because it adds like a lot of color to a piece. It just adds more stuff going on, and that really tied the piece together for myself, especially adding like the little dots on the grass and everything. I felt like that was definitely what this piece needed, and Poscas and gouache are a very fun couple of mediums to mix together. That's pretty much it for this drawing though. If you guys played Mystery Dungeon DX, let me know in the comments below what Pokemon you and your partner were. I think that's very exciting. But thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.